What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a story time, which, at risk of making myself unemployable, due to like retail outlets and fast food locations, this is how I lost my job. So I'm gonna try and make this as quick as possible, because I did try to film this yesterday, and I ended up talking for longer than iMovie can actually capture, and it's just easier for editing if it automatically loads itself in, you know what I mean? So let's jump into it. I would have quit if I'd been able to, and what I mean by that is it wasn't like, you know, contractual obligations that I had to wait a certain period of time before or anything. Like, there was nothing like that. It was that I am on government payments as a job seeker, and therefore any and all sort of, what's the specific word they use? I think they say like relevant. That doesn't seem right, but it's a synonymous word with that. But basically any good job offers I have to kind of say yes to. So yeah, turning around and then quitting, you know, even if it is 8 months later, isn't allowed, because you're saying no to a genuine job offer, which the people that didn't give me money while I was working don't like. So yeah, anyway, and that is also relevant. I was not able to quit. I would have if that was an option, and I would have done so in about 6 months. So the fact that I managed to last an extra 2 months before finally just snapping, hooray for me. It also happened right before I went away to Stanford, which obviously I did a travel video for. Didn't really vlog super much. We are working on it though. We are working on it. So yeah, happened right before that, and that and a couple of other things that were happening in sort of the same time period were all just big general life stresses, and work just wasn't making it any fucking easier. So yeah, I had a bit of a moment and we snapped, and now I'm unemployed. Fun times. Gotta love lack of patience for humanity in general. Anyway, some of the things that had happened over the course of my 8 months working there were lovely things like shift supervisors calling themselves managers and then believing that gives them some power that they can just lord over myself and the other workers, and I seemed to be the only one to be like, well, actually, you're a shift supervisor, and the only thing that gives you is access to the safe and the keys to lock up with afterwards. That's it. Otherwise, we are on the same level. We get paid the same amount. you are not a member of the management team. You are not the person hiring and firing people. You're not the person in charge of making sure that the store's making a profit. You're not on the management team. But we love to see an inflated ego, so that's what they thought of themselves as. Good fun. We had... Should we break into sort of the big part of this story? Why not? Let's break into it. We had the franchise owner tell the staff supervisors that if they work 5 hours but want to stay on, for another half hour, whatever, that's completely fine, despite the fact that Fair Work has it in their hour thing. I will actually take a screenshot and put it right here. These are the Australian work rights. As you can see, any shifts of 5 hours or more require a minimum of a 15-minute break. Yeah, so they just completely violated those like it was nobody's business, because apparently it's not theirs. The store manager insinuated that some of the staff that were working there were sexual predators of the child endangerment kind, which we love to see. Not outright saying the word, just like I'm not outright saying the word, but the exact situation that I saw at the very least, and this isn't to say that this was, this could have just been a one-off. It might have been a thing that they did a whole heap. It doesn't matter. A one-off is bad enough. So I was there doing some wash-up. One of the other delivery drivers was there doing some wash-up. One of the managers was overdoing some dope work with the actual store manager, and our manager has to be 17, has to be, because he's on his P's, but he still talks to all the girls that are still in school as if he's trying to get in with them. It's a fucking nightmare to deal with. But anyway, he was just running his mouth as he did every fucking shift, and you knew it was going to be a long shift if you got there and you could already hear his voice before you even got inside the front door. Which was, I'd love to say that was an uncommon occurrence, but I'd be lying. So yeah, just running his mouth about who knows what. Just verbal diarrhea straight out his mouth hole. And one of the other guys made a bit of a joke, right? Because, he's a young guy, he's talking to young chicks. It's socially acceptable for him to be talking to people his own age, so it's fine. He managed to find himself in that morally grey area of they're not legally adults, but they're over the age of 16, which in Australia is an age of consent. It's weird that we have this morally grey area of 2 years. He'd found himself in that. So yeah, I'll makes a joke to the dude just running his mouth, to which before he can even turn around and bite back, which is also a common occurrence for this shithead, the manager turns around and goes, "I wouldn't say anything. I've seen the girls you talk to in the car park after work." To which I was like, okay, just gonna casually call our workers who are actually doing their work pedophiles. Good to know. Moving on, and I immediately went and saw when the next delivery was coming out, because I wanted to get the fuck out of that store. and I wanted to, and I prayed that the rest of that shift, I honestly can't remember if the rest of that shift was busy or not, because that's literally become that particular shift's defining moment. To no one's surprise, that particular staff member quit very soon afterwards. Don't blame them. There was a time where one of the young girls on the front counter had only been working there, I want to say 2 weeks. But I have this inkling in the back of my head that might be being generous. Not long enough to know the computer systems inside and out, let's put it that way. And the only position they'd been put on up to that point was front counter. They had a bit of issues with some of the computer systems and stuff, and obviously it's frustrated and kind of confused the customer, because the customer's, saying one thing, it's not exactly lining up with the text on the screen, like the official name of a particular pizza or a particular deal, or like prices weren't matching up to what they were saying, and they didn't know where to go in to put the coupon code it's in or whatever it might have been. Anyway, they managed to solve the issue, right, with a couple of pointers from other people who were just, delivery drivers and stuff, who were just walking past, being like, hey, what are you struggling with? Yep, that's in there. It's just there. There you go. Cool. Are you all good? Sweet. One or two little pointers and the whole thing was resolved, right? Not an issue. The customer was like, cool, awesome, thanks. I'll be back. Sort of thing. Because in case we were wondering or not, I used to work at a Pizza Planet. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. But yeah, so they've sort of started to go off, but the store managers come across because, his store, his business, fair enough. However, this particular incident, you have no foot in, and it's already been resolved before you're inserting yourself into it, which is just going to cause issues. What are you doing? Anyway, his prerogative, so he did. Gave the girl a bit of a revving. Not fair in my opinion, but that's what he did. And then as soon as he finished giving her a revving, I made her feel like crap, and I could see in her face that she was looking forward to going home because she was about this close to just breaking down. To be fair, when you're 15 and you're trying to figure out how to do your job so that you can start getting yourself a good portfolio with really good references for when you move away for college, and then when you're going to get actual full-time work and stuff, yeah, kind of a bit stressful when easily 40-year-old man comes over and just starts all but yelling in her face. The yelling is a separate article that we'll touch on in a moment, so we can just sort of sit here for a minute. So yeah, given her having come around to assign deliveries to drivers because there's too many people standing around and not enough deliveries going out, partially because it was 4 in the afternoon and 5 in the afternoon? It was early, sun was still up, to put it that way. And we knew that we were going to get smashed that particular day because it was a Friday. So it was okay, cool, you guys can't be standing, we need you to just go on taking deliveries, you can go here, you can go here, and you can go here, sort of thing. While doing that, the customers come up and try to just explain politely that, hey, look, there was just a bit of a miscommunication, but it's okay, it wasn't her fault. I confused her by, while she was looking for part A by mentioning B, C, and D at the same time. I didn't realize she was new. sort of only once they started getting help from other people that I realized, oh, she's still being trained. Cool. So yeah, really nice customer. The service she received, however, I would have they're probably not going to, but if they're watching this, I would have called head office and complained, like right there, while waiting for my order, because the service you received was not okay. I was working that particular day. I helped that girl on the front counter, and I was like right next to the manager as you were trying to explain yourself. So I saw the whole thing. I was directly involved in every step of this, and it wasn't okay. For those of you that aren't that customer who isn't watching this video, the manager to begin with just said, oh well, I'm the store manager and what you did is wrong, like I know for a fact. To which the customer said, no, you're not listening to me, this and this, and not wanting to have to repeat himself, he just basically gave her like a backhand wave, like, okay, you've wasted enough of my time, be gone, peasant. And it was like, that customer complains once to head office and puts a bad review online, and suddenly your profit margin falls. Maybe be nicer to your customers. Now that I'm making this video, maybe also be less of a cunt to your staff. The bit where the yelling came in was the most professional of language. If you're thinking that Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen is professional language. So yeah, about as much aggression, but none of the charm of Gordon Ramsay. Like, I kind of wished at that point in time that it was Gordon Ramsay, because at least then it would have been like, look, I don't mind being sworn at, it's Gordon fucking Ramsay. But it wasn't. It was just this narcissistic fucktard. And it was because we were getting absolutely smashed. I think it was like Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve or whatever, one of the busiest nights of the year. There were 3 people on counter, 4, maybe 5 people on the pizza make bench itself. Literally one person's whole job was just putting sauce on dough. Another person was just cheese, sort of thing, and they were able to cover for sauce if the sauce person had to run into the freezer to grab more dough, more bases, or more toppings or whatever. And then there was like a meats person, a veggies person, and then one final person to sort of make sure that the order was all there together and put it in the oven. So there was like 5 people on the make bench. There were people that were rostered on specifically just to do wash up. I think there were 2 people out there, and then like easily a dozen, if not more, delivery drivers, and then 1 person on the cut bench. 1 person, despite the fact that most pizza shops these days offer a plethora of sides. So having someone do sides probably would have been a smart idea. Didn't happen, and that's what we got sworn at for having deliveries go out late because he was on the make bench on the opposite corner of the store with an oven in the way, so he can't see what's going on, and so he just starts yelling out what the fuck's going on, why are these deliveries going out late, etc, etc, etc. Maybe because it's hard enough getting into the store because of the full, despite COVID, social distancing restrictions in the foyer, and it's just as packed behind the counter because of how many people are working tonight. and no one's doing sides, so we can't just come in, pick up our order and go. We have to worry about doing sides, and some of these sides have a whole bunch of things that need different sauces. You know, there might be like some cheesy garlic breads, which when you're smashed, you just sort of pull the things that they get cooked in out and sit them sort of in a pile. You don't even slide them out onto a box. So there's those, you know, like desserts, trying to get drinks and stuff while other things are being done. Yeah, they went out a little bit late. The time being brought on the phone reflects that fact because of how busy we are. So not only did all of the staff get sworn at, but all of the customers in the store heard it, which was fun times. Yeah. Oh, and then my personal favorite was the constant one that kept coming up, and honestly, there were so many times where I wanted to just look him dead in the eyes and be like, shut the fuck up. I'm so sick of hearing you say this shit. But the way this particular store worked, and I'm not sure if other stores of this same brand work the same way, but this particular store works this way, where when your roster ends, you have to go and ask the manager if you can leave. Granted, myself and most of everyone that worked there were casuals. So it was kind of like, ask before you can leave, just in case we need you for something else. And I'm there like, yeah, but overtime needs to be like agreed upon. Actually, while I continue my story, let me try and find these on so when overtime applies, when it loads, loading it up on my phone, it's taking its time. We'll let it do its thing. But yeah, he would come out with the phrase of, "Oh, don't you like money?" And it was kind of funny the first 2 times, you know. But then by about the 3rd time, it started becoming a little less sarcastic, a little more aggressive. But the 7th time, it had gone from being 2nd person singular to 2nd person plural, because apparently I wasn't the only one asking if I could go home when my roster said I was finished. And if he's still in the store when that happens, he's the one we ask. There were other staff members who'd be like, "Hey, do you mind taking one more delivery, and then you can go? Like this one's even paid if you want to start counting up your money while it's coming out," sort of thing, and prep everything else so that as soon as you come back, you literally just gotta come in, clock off, and go. Like, loved those particular supervisors. They had no ego. They were just like, "Yep, I'm here working the same as you. Like, we're all in this nightmare together." Why do you not want to work for me? But yeah, and then so like the aggression and the like, you know, like it got to one point there where when he'd said it, he'd even like completely stopped doing the thing that he was doing to like deliberately stare at all of the people in the store that were working, that must have at one point or another come up and asked him if they could go home because their shift had finished. to which he obviously would have responded the same way to them. So I was like, oh, cool, we're getting the big assault tonight. Good to know. Except for the fact that I have epilepsy. If I don't take my meds on time, I might have a seizure behind the wheel, crash my car, and then your insurance pays for that. I'm also on antidepressants, and my mental health keeps me up until, what's the time now? 3:25 a.m. Just overthinking things. So, like, medically speaking, can I go the fuck home and can you shut the fuck up? You know what I mean? So that was a whole heap of fun dealing with that. And so then on the night in question, when I actually did lose my job, more of the same. Come in, you can hear old mate running his mouth in the background. It's like, great, it's gonna be one of those nights. Clock on, say hi to pretty much everyone. Wash my hands, get ready to start the shift. Guy on the oven, I don't know. We like didn't socialize so much when we were at work. He was sort of like not one of the people that I would talk to, because generally speaking I spoke to delivery drivers and he was not. But also anytime I'd helped him out because someone else had asked me to, if he was involved in some way, he'd find some way to complain directly to me about it. Like one particular night when we were really busy and he was getting pumped just cutting pizzas, and there were orders still coming out, but he was not able to like tear the receipts into the individual orders sort of thing. So I just, cool, I'm gonna do that real quick for you. Before I even finished tearing the actual receipt off the printer, he just looked up at me with this like, what the fuck are you doing look in his eyes. I was like, I don't like it when people do that. What do you mean? I've got nothing to do, you're being pumped. Just say thanks and move on. Like, grow up, share your toys, you spoiled little fuck. And it happened to be a similar situation that particular night. We'll get to that. And then probably my least favourite of the shift supervisors was on, and she was my least favourite because she had a tendency to find things a little bit too difficult, to which she would basically have a breakdown in store, and because she was also one of the delivery drivers, she would then immediately take it upon herself to take whichever was the next delivery out, even if someone had already been assigned to it. She'd just be like, okay, cool, well I'm taking that, go pack it and leave. Just like, cool, you're supposed to be keeping the staff in line, you can't even keep your fucking self in line, whatever. And so the way it ended up playing out was, I did my job. I picked up the order that I had been assigned by the staff, by the shift manager, shift supervisor. Put it in the heat bags. Got my sides, put them in the heat bag. Got my drink, signed it all out. Went out into the car park, and where the store is, it's on like a bit of a strip mall sort of thing, but it's sort of on the back end, which actually faces the main road, if that makes sense. So there's like a little sort of side street that comes off the main road that has all the like boutique shops, and like there's an ice cream parlor and like some real estates and this really cool little like bougie cafe and stuff. So all off on this little side street, and sort of we're on the back end of some of those buildings with a car park in front of us, and then the main road in front of that. No, it's not good. So I'd made it like halfway up the car park to where my car was, got in, double checked my receipt for about the 11th time by this point for the address, so I could type it into my maps on my phone so I could see what the quickest way to get there would be. Because, you know, yeah, I can only do 50 kilometers per hour in town limits, but if I can find a way that's going to actually end up meaning it only takes me 2 minutes instead of 3, I'm going on the 2-minute way, because even though pizza is technically considered fast food, if you get it to customers before they're expecting it, you'll inevitably get a "wow, that was fast." I loved that line when I was working at Macca's. I'm like, yeah, no, it's literally fast food. Like, what did you expect? Anyway, I always liked doing that for my customers, getting it there as quickly as possible, sort of thing. You know, so that they've got efficiency, they got fresher, sort of hotter meals, so customer satisfaction for that. And I'd always be, you know, really polite and really professional with all of my customers. And it was because of that I was basically topping the like in-store ranking for delivery riders. So, you know, fair to say I knew how to do my job. So now I'm about to shift into reverse to take this delivery, and I get a phone call to which was basically, come back in, that order's not ready. No explanation. So when I go in, because I've been asked to, and ask politely why it's not ready, I just start getting a mouthful, because apparently me taking the order that wasn't ready was a little bit too much for her, and she was looking like she was about to just run off and have another fucking cry, and I hadn't been having the greatest day that day, so I was like, I don't want to be dealing with this today. And so while dealing with the manager and being like, look, what's going on? Like, why isn't it able to go? It's 2 pizzas, a garlic bread and a drink. I've got 2 pizzas, a garlic bread and a drink. And I'm like, I've got the order. What's wrong with it? Only to find out that despite being assigned by that manager for that order, I had not been communicated with by that manager, who was also on the make bench, that one of the pizzas needed to be remade, which was going to take like another, 5 minutes, sort of a thing. So, as far as I was concerned, I was doing my job properly, because I had not been communicated. That had not been communicated to me. And so while discussing with the manager, all I hear from the hot end of the oven is, if it's turned this particular way, it means don't touch it. And my instant thought was, mate, I'm about to touch you at velocity with my fist. Just shut up. You weren't involved. I literally took it from right beside you. You could have said, oh no, that's waiting on a pizza, politely at that point, but you didn't either. So you don't get a say right now. And I was just like, look, between your attitude, my general mood right now, I can't in good conscience deliver this, deliver service that I'm gonna be proud of in this like state of mind. Like, I'm just gonna ruin your night, which is gonna ruin everyone's night, which is gonna inadvertently ruin customers' nights, because we're gonna be all stressed, we're gonna be all on edge, all upset, all angry, all whatever. It's just gonna be a shit night. So I'm gonna remove myself from that equation to hopefully bring good customer service to customers. I got a phone call about 15 minutes later when the night shift manager clocked on, told them what was going on, and made the mistake of trying to confide some of how I was feeling in them, because I got along, well with them, only for them to turn around and give me work brain, by saying, rather than friend brain, by saying that, oh, well, you've just threatened a staff member, I'm going to have to call the store manager. And then the store manager called me and said, hey, what's going on? I said, well, you tell me, because from what the others, from the store managers, the shift supervisors have told me, it's basically up to you at this point. Like, you tell me what's going on. If they've told you what I've said, then me telling you the same thing again isn't going to give you any new information. So, like, you tell me. They were like, no, go on, like, I probably won't get any new information, but I'll get your insight into it. So, like, tell me what's going on. So I started to explain, and almost immediately get cut off, with them telling me that whatever I was saying at that particular point in time was not relevant. To which I then responded, yeah, well, if you let me finish saying what I was saying, I'll tell you how it's relevant. And got the response, well, no, because I'm talking. So I just hung up. I was like, nah, well, if you're not going to listen to me, whatever. And then, obviously, got a text message being like, no need to hang up. And between you walking off on your shift and threatening other staff members, you don't have a job here. I'm sorry you didn't like it when I left after 5 hours of straight working with no break, because that's what my award said. I'm sorry you didn't like me leaving when my shift was finished, because I had applied for the store in the town I live in and not the one half an hour away. So that half an hour drive home was still going to be work brain, because driving my car is what I do for work. And I'm sorry that there is a chemical imbalance in my brain that tonight was just setting off. Like, if you'd let me explain, I would have told you that I wasn't having a good day, and if need be, I'll go and get a doctor's certificate from my psychiatrist to say, like, yeah, look, like, hell, I would have taken my script in for my antidepressants and like, this is what I'm on, these are my antidepressants. I was not having a great day that day. Anyway, in the past, all done and dusted, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are new here. Please ring the notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Comment down below. Have you got any stories about a time you lost your job for standing up for your own work rights? And until next time, guys, keep your head screwed on.